playing on a tender ankle. What a performance. This step-back three for the game winner, the shot heard around the world. They win it by 2 in overtime. Luka had 43 points, 17 rebounds, 13 assists. That series is even at 2 games apiece. That's where the drama was, and this is where the conversation begins right now. Richard Jefferson is with us, and we will have Stephen A. Smith with us in just a moment. Stephen A. will join us in just a moment. RJ, you and I opened this hour talking about Luka. Let's talk about what to expect from him now as we go forward. Tim Legler said on this show last week that we are entering the decade of Doncic. Do you believe Luka is on the verge of becoming that player, the signature player in the NBA as some of these older stars sort of get into their final years?
You know, it's funny, we talk about that. Meanwhile, Giannis is still very young, probably on his way to a second MVP. But I think the way Luka does it is different, right? You look up at it, and we were marveling at LeBron James having 25, 15, and 15, and Luka almost did the exact same thing. This man goes out and has, 43, 17, and 13. So he was about to have a 40-point game with the same type of numbers. And Luka is just different. He's special. I don't know how he gets 17 rebounds. I kind of understand how he gets, double-digit assists, but then he also goes out there and scores 40. We haven't seen too many players that have the ability to do this night in, night out. And don't forget, you remember this, Greeny, earlier in the season, he averaged a triple-double over the course of a month. So this isn't him getting hot. This is just who he is, how he plays, and he's only going to continue to get better and smarter.
Stephen A. now does join us, indeed. Stephen A. Smith with First Take starting in 28 minutes. Good morning, Stephen A. Let me just come to you and give you the floor. Any direction you want to go on Luka. Obviously, yesterday was spectacular. The series has been spectacular. As you were watching Luka Doncic right now, what thoughts are going through your mind?
Oh, the brother's, he's big time, no question about it. I've had NBA officials telling me that at this age, he's better than LeBron James was. I think that's a bit hyperbolic. I certainly don't believe that because I believe that LeBron was absolutely phenomenal. But you can make that argument because of Luka's shooting ability. We can't deny that. His poise, the fact that he's not scared of any moment. And then to be going up against, and I don't think we can ignore this, for him to be going up against a Clippers defense that is supposed to be big time with Kawhi Leonard, with Paul George. I know Patrick Beverley did not play, but Morris is no scrub. He can ball and he can defend. When you've got a team like the Clippers who are rough and rugged, they go after it, they play with intensity and whatever. And this dude scores 40 in two of the 4 games. One of the other games he was hurt. Another game he had 28 points in 28 minutes. They can't seem to stop him. And then last but not least, I don't know if anybody noticed this, but Kawhi Leonard is one of the top 5 players on the planet. He is elite. He's a 2-time champion, a 2-time NBA Finals MVP. That first title that he won, that first NBA Finals MVP that he won, Greeny, it was because of his defensive prowess, supposedly against LeBron James, even though LeBron averaged 28 in that series. What the hell was Kawhi Leonard doing switching off of Luka Doncic last night and allowing the smaller Reggie Jackson to defend him? I think that was a mistake on Kawhi Leonard's part. That's something that you have to step up and demand. I'm not switching. I'm going to stay on this dude, especially with Porzingis out. Everybody and their mother knew that Luka Doncic was going to have the ball in his hands, which means Kawhi Leonard knew. Why were you not on this, brother?
No
That's
question.
just the way I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, Doc Rivers was talking about the defense and that switch after the game. We've got Stephen A. Smith and Richard Jefferson with us. I'm just going to ask, because I saw what happened there. We're having a little trouble with Stephen A.'s camera. Can I come back to? Oh, yes, we do. Okay, excellent. Stephen A., very quickly, because I want to make sure we save some time to talk about Kobe today. But I do want to get your take on the Sixers. They get swept out yesterday. Anyone who knows you began your career at the Philadelphia newspapers covering the Sixers, and now we see what might have been the end of the process. If it were up to you, what would be the changes you would make in Philly after they get swept out of the playoffs yesterday?
Brett Brown has to be replaced as head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. I take no pleasure in saying that. He's a good man. He truly, truly is. And I'm certainly not questioning his knowledge of basketball from an X's and O's standpoint. But at some point in time, when you're entering your 8th season as the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, you know what? We got to look at it. You lived off the process. The process was straight garbage as far as I'm concerned, and nobody blamed him for that. But you've had 3 or 4 years with Joel Embiid healthy, with Ben Simmons in the lineup, and this is what happens. And so at the end of the day, I question whether or not he has the pulse of these players, that he's maximizing what he has to work with. And that's where it becomes problematic. Ty Lue, Mark Jackson, and others, there's coaches out there that are believed to be individuals who can touch the pulse of players of that magnitude. You've got to give it a shot without wasting away the years of the Philadelphia 76ers. Butler and Redick are gone, I understand that. And that's a management issue as well. But they should have been better, particularly on the road this year. And their horrible road record, to me, is the ultimate indictment against Brett Brown. I think there needs to be a change.
Big game of the night. Mavs, Clippers, after the controversy in Game 1, where Dallas had Kawhi on the ropes and Kristaps Porzingis gets thrown out. Luka was brilliant. Here we go. Luka picking up where he left off. Oh, and the big fella Porzingis getting out some of that frustration. And the Mavs would jump to an early lead. They're up 10-2 there. Second quarter, they're up 15. And Luka is distributing. How big is Boban? Look, he barely has to jump here on the feet. Oh, and he throws it down. Boban, 13 big points, 6 of 8 from the floor. Off the bench, Mavs up 17, still in the second. Porzingis, he knocked down 3 threes. Mavs at a 5-point halftime lead. Paul George had 0 points and 3 fouls in the first half. And the frustration comes out here. Loses it, gets it back, up and no good. He's looking for a call. Ultimately scores, but he's yelling at the ref, and he gets a technical. Those are easy to come by in this series. Frustration showing. Clippers down 13. Fourth quarter, still 12. Kawhi Leonard not giving up. Oh, he throws it down. Emphatically, Kawhi had 35 and 10, but it wasn't nearly enough. Mavs led from start to finish. Luka had 28. Porzingis on the flush. Mavs even the series with a 13-point win. Doc Rivers, what happened?
I just think they're playing well, and honestly, they're playing better than us right now, and we have to pick our play up.
Just goes to show you the West is tough. AFC just beat the first seed yesterday. The West is tough. It's a tough conference. Any given night, any team, especially here, can win. And we full on seen that. So it's no surprise. What you have to do is come ready to play. And tonight was their night.
And the story is Luka. I mean, he's just been ridiculous. 28 points, 8 boards, 7 assists. You see the numbers, 70 points in 2 career playoff games. It's more than Alcindor, it's more than Dr. J. Only George Mikan had more, so you got to go back to 1949. And here's Tim Legler, been with us all morning long. And Legler, let's dive into this series. For the six of the 8 quarters, Kristaps Porzingis has been eligible to play. It is inarguable the Mavericks have been the better team. So what is going to change? The Clippers are your championship against so many other people. What is going to change for the Clippers to turn this around?
I think they're obviously going to have to now start to dig in a little bit on that end of the floor. I think part of the problem is it's like they show up with this talent defensively and they think it's just going to happen. You've got a team right now in Dallas that, if you look at their numbers historically and their offensive efficiency, this is one of the greatest offensive seasons any team has had in this league. And Luka Doncic controls the flow and the pace to such an extent. You can't just show up and think, because we've got speed, we've got length, we've got guys to throw at him, that's going to be enough. I think now they understand they've got to turn the momentum in this series, and they're going to have to do it on that end of the floor. What was really shocking to me in Game 2 was the fact that Luka sat out long stretches of the second half, and the Clippers still couldn't make a dent in that lead. And their bench comes in, and 3 guys go 19 for 28 off the bench, and they were getting it from everywhere, the point, the wing, inside. So for their bench to be that good without having Luka Doncic out there to facilitate the offense to get those guys shots, that to me was the most shocking thing I took out of Game 2. And it lets me know the Clippers are in trouble here if they don't change their mindset and their approach about how hard they're going to have to play defensively to disrupt the rhythm of this team.
Yeah, let's talk about those 3 guys, or at least let's give them their credit. It was Trey Burke, Seth Curry, and Boban who came in and were all terrific. But let's take a moment on Luka. You said when we talked about this earlier this morning, we may be entering the decade of Luka Doncic. Through your eyes, what are we seeing in this 21-year-old kid?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. His first game, his rookie year against the Phoenix Suns, I was watching that game, and in the first 6 minutes of that game, he threw 3 passes that made me realize this guy was on a completely different level in terms of his awareness. He sees things happening well before anybody else on the floor. And in fact, I actually see him get frustrated sometimes because he turns the ball over because defenders don't react the way they're supposed to, because he knows what you're supposed to do, and if you don't, he might throw it off your face, and now he's got a turnover. And so his ability to understand exactly how the defense is going to react, his patience in the lane, I call him the master of the late delivery. He gets into the lane, and most guys at that point will panic when they get crowded. They'll throw up an off-balance shot, or they'll throw a pass that's hard to catch. That's when he slows everything down, when he gets into the lane, and then his head is still up. His eyes are everywhere. So he'll get the kick-out three. He'll get the pocket pass to a guy like Boban. He'll get the drop-off. It's just an awareness, a maturity, a poise about what he's seeing on the floor. The guy is truly special. I think he's headed for all-time greatness in this league. There's no question about it.
I agree. And you have to admit when you were wrong. I was dead wrong about that guy. Pacers, it started there. A 109-100 win for Miami. A 2-0 series lead. How about Duncan Robinson? 7 of 8 from 3, 24 points for him. Heat as a team won 18 of 35 on threes. That broke their franchise record for threes in a playoff game. Elsewhere, 15-2 run to begin the fourth quarter with James Harden on the bench helped the Rockets cruise to a 13-point win over OKC. Rockets put up 56 three-point attempts. Harden, 21 points, 9 assists, 5 boards. Milwaukee needed a bounce-back win to even their series with Orlando. They got it. Giannis led the way, 28 points, 20 boards. Milwaukee a 15-point win. Giannis and Kareem, now the only Bucks ever with 20-plus points and 20-plus rebounds in a game in the playoffs. And then, as we mentioned, the Lakers finally got a win. Anthony Davis leading the way. Boy, was he good last night. 31 points, 11 boards. Lakers evening the series at 1 game apiece with a blowout win over Portland. And adding insult to injury, or maybe injury to insult, Dame Lillard got hurt in the third quarter, down 30, by the way. It's a dislocated left index finger. X-rays were negative. That's positive. He didn't return. One way or another, the Lakers even the matter up. And as with Richard Jefferson with us this morning, so is Brian Windhorst. Wendy, it is always great to see you. But RJ, I will start with you. We talked about this earlier, but a lot of people joining us here. The team you saw on the floor last night with Anthony Davis playing like that, does that look like a championship team to you?
Well, you know what's crazy is I still stand by this. I believe that the Clippers are the best team and they have the best chance to win a championship. But when I look at that Laker team, it's not going to be defined by Anthony Davis and LeBron James. They are going to get them to a spot. It's going to be defined by how well guys like KCP shoot, J.R. Smith, Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma had 14 points on 14 shots game one, and people were like, Kyle Kuzma didn't play that bad. It's like, how low is the bar set for their subs? If these guys play well, that increases their chances to win a championship exponentially.
The really interesting thought. One of the things about role players is there are no home court games really here anymore. We always say the role players are going to play well in home games. There are no home games. So I don't know if that would mean we would expect them on balance to play better or play worse. Wendy, same question to you. You've been following LeBron since he was in high school. Does this look like a championship team to you?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've never seen, and the stats and information department back this up, I've never seen LeBron score 10 points in a playoff game and his team win. That is a stunning, stunning development. And look, if the supporting cast can keep playing like that, I don't think they can, but if they do keep playing like that, it is a championship roster. But this really comes down to Anthony Davis. This was a get-well game for Anthony Davis. Greeny, the Blazers are starting an undrafted rookie at power forward in this series, Wenyen Gabriel. In the game one, he actually was so doe-eyed that he got excited that he got a bloody nose because LeBron James gave him the bloody nose. That was the guy that the Blazers assigned to Anthony Davis, okay? That was Anthony Davis's defender, and they lost that game. Anthony Davis has to be a beast. And yeah, it really is nice when Alex Caruso and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope hit a few threes. That's nice. But this is going nowhere if Anthony Davis doesn't keep playing like that.
So how would you describe, Wendy, as one whose job it is to sort of put all these things in perspective and shape the narrative of the NBA? What is at stake here for Davis? We all understand what's at stake for LeBron. What's at stake for Anthony Davis in this playoff run?
Well, with all due respect to him, his playoff record is scattered. He's had a couple of playoff games where he's been absolutely unbelievable, and he's had playoff series where he's frankly not, looked like a top 5 or top 10 player in the league that we know he is. So here's the situation. This Lakers supporting cast is not the strongest. individual games they may do things, but what's going to carry them is Anthony Davis playing great. Anthony Davis needs to be the best and highest performing level teammate LeBron James has had in his career for the Lakers to win the championship this year. That's just the reality of it. He asked for this. He looked the Pelicans in the eye and said, send me to play with LeBron James so that we can try to win a championship. So this is what you asked for. This is what you got. The Lakers are depleted on their roster because they paid so much for him. So he's got to make it worth their while. It's really on his shoulders as much as it is LeBron.
RJ, after the game, there were a few questions to Terry Stotts, the Portland coach, about having Lillard on the floor down 30 late in the third quarter. And they asked him what was he doing out there, and he said he was playing basketball. And, of course, he winds up getting hurt in that situation, so hindsight being 20/20. Do you have any issue with him being on the floor 2 minutes left in the third quarter down 30?
No, zero issue. Most of the time, what coaches will do, the last 2 minutes, they'll give you an opportunity to end the quarter, or they'll give you 1 or 2 minutes to see if you can make some sort of respectable push. So let's not all of a sudden question a man that has put his team in the playoffs 7 straight years. And Dame, you never know what Dame could do. Dame could come off and hit 3-4 straight threes, and next thing you know, the game is within reach. So don't all of a sudden start questioning this man that knows what he's doing. I won't do that, and anybody that does is a little disrespectful.
All right, fair enough. I like that. I'm glad that I asked. Let me show you guys my poll question. It's up on Twitter, at ESPN Greeny. I just put it up early this morning because the Warriors got the second pick in the draft. They become a very intriguing team with the possibility of trading that, bringing everybody back healthy. So my question is, which of these 3 superstars do you give the best chance to win next year's championship? LeBron with the Lakers, KD, who hopefully back healthy with the Nets in the East, Steph Curry and that group in Golden State. Windy, as you look at what the Warriors have, and I'd love you to quickly encapsulate what the Warriors do have, what's your answer to the question as you look at it there?
This is a tough one, Greeny. I commend you for coming up with this. I don't feel strongly about any of them. I guess I would go with LeBron because of Anthony Davis. I think he's the best number 2 that they have out there, and I also don't know what Durant is going to be. The Warriors have good news and bad news this morning. The bad news is that this is not a draft that's stocked with franchise players. So I don't think they're going to be able to really command a huge price for that second pick if they trade it. But the good news for them is that there's an indecision over who's going to be the top pick. So they could get, depending on what the Timberwolves do at number 1, they could get multiple bidders on draft night or leading up to it because the number 2 pick will have value amongst this particular